I don't know how they're going to work this in Flint. They're going to have to do a lot of planning and a lot of research. The problem with Flint, it's a lot of older communities. The infrastructure's old, the houses are old, a lot of them. So I'm sure they're going to learn a lot once they get into the project.
What is happening in Flint, Michigan is criminal, truly criminal. Because years from now, there will be kids and adults who may feel the incurable effects of drinking water heavily laden with lead and other toxic chemicals. There won't be a cure. And as we seek to get to the bottom of how it all happened, we are discovering some truly frightening facts. What happened in Flint is not unique. It is likely happening in every state in America as we speak. There's a very good chance that you and your family are being affected by tainted water, no matter how clean the government tells you it is. And we're in the midst of a national crisis plenty of people would rather run from, because they know it's been happening under their watch for decades. So let's get to work. Our first guest is assistant professor in the Department of Science at Virginia Tech University, founder of Parents for Non-Toxic Alternatives, and a co-developer of the Flint Water Study. Let's welcome Professor Yana Lambrinidou. And we're joined by attorney and, most important for this discussion, the former mayor of Edison, New Jersey, George Spadoro. I want to thank you both for joining us, and this is something we could spend hours on, but Mayor, let me begin with you. We are told that this is an infrastructure problem here and that it is happening in every city in America. From a mayor's standpoint, do you look at this and go, this is how desperate we as mayors, local governments, need to get the help of the states and others who understand, because we're the end of the pipeline. We can't do anything here. We're stuck, and many times we are completely helpless to save our own people.
Well, I think the Flint, Michigan situation is a tragedy for the citizens of Flint, but it's a wake-up call for mayors of every city in this country. If you are a mayor of a community that has older infrastructure, homes that are built more than 20 or 30 years ago, there's a chance that there's going to be use of lead piping, either in the municipal system or in the connection between your home and that system.
How scared are you as a former mayor? You've been involved with these people. And I lived in Edison, New Jersey for a very short time, many years ago. How scared are you that the people in Edison right now are going to feel the effects of this, and that you have infected people at this moment that can't be saved?
I can tell you this, that all mayors are on alert now, and when they have homes that fit the category that we're talking about, their older construction, you know, it appears very likely that there's going to be active testing done of those homes. Even if the water system is not contaminated, there's a possibility that the connection between the home and the water system could have lead pipes, and there's a possibility that the home could be affected. So it's going to take an effort by local, county, state, and the federal government to remedy this problem, because there's really no excuse that in the United States of America today, any of our citizens should be at risk of this type of calamity.
Professor, you and the Virginia Tech research team volunteered your time, your resources, your expertise. You looked into the Flint issue here. We keep hearing that it's deadly at this point, but that so many people knew. They knew for years that this was going on. As you looked at the water and saw what was in it, was there any way possible that anybody could have said, I didn't know, and not be lying?
You know, I think that the testing that was done in Flint to monitor for lead in drinking water was testing that turned out to be flawed. It was testing that used various different methods that are known to miss lead in water hazards. So in Flint, for example, the highest risk homes were not targeted for testing, but low risk homes in many occasions were targeted for testing. Also, the residents who were sampling with the instructions of the state were instructed to flush their taps before stagnation the night before sampling. And also the state threw out a few high lead readings to make sure that they meet the lead and copper rule federal lead standard. These are practices that not only occurred in Flint, but unfortunately are occurring in other cities around the country as we speak. And we know that they miss high lead. and can bring a utility in compliance with the federal standard for lead, when in reality, lead levels that are flowing out of people's taps are higher and are placing entire communities at risk.
But let's say this, I got about 30 seconds for you on this. Again, fair to say that the scientists who were looking at this over the years, somebody had to say something. They needed to scream at the top of their lungs because you could see this getting worse. This wasn't as if it just happened one day.
Well, I think that
Professor, please go ahead. Mayor, I'll get to you in a moment.
I think that unless you actually sample in the right way, as the Virginia Tech team did, you really have no way of knowing what lead is coming out of your tap. But certainly you have a responsibility as a scientist or engineer or state employee to sample properly according to the law, and to not be using practices that do not comply with the law and that miss lead in water in people's homes.
To that point, Mr. Mayor, 30 seconds. Is it obvious to you that people are running right now? They are, from a legal standpoint, this should open up millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of lawsuits because these people had to know.
I can say this to you, that based on the information I've reviewed, there was clearly a failure of government at just about every level, a failure at local level, a failure at the county health department level, a failure at the state level, and a failure at the federal level. And I know the investigations are now being conducted. It's likely that they will uncover, what happened. And we all hope that if there's anyone responsible for intentionally hiding information or intentionally attempting to act as though there wasn't a problem, that they be held accountable.
Bring them to justice. I want to tell everybody, flintwaterstudy.org is where you can go to learn more about what the Virginia Tech team did. Mr. Mayor, Professor, thank you so much for joining us. We will revisit this again. Stay with us. The Hardline continues.